Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ing. And Joyce, we have the start of the annual award season. According to the Gotham Awards, it happened. We finally started award season. Are you excited?
Is it though?
I'm just telling you what they said in their press release. This is the start of the annual award season. It has not started.
According to whom besides them?
Just them.
Just them. No one else.
Joyce, the Gotham Award nominations came out this week. Honora had four
Yesterday
yesterday. We're
and
recording Wednesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Uh, Anora had four nominations: Best Feature, Best Lead Performance, Mikey Madison, Best Supporting Performance, Yura Borisov, and Best Director for Sean Baker. Nickel Boys had three nominations. Baby Girl did really well. Uh, people are excited, Joyce. Let's say that.
And it was just another Tuesday for me.
So,
Are literally nothing surprising about any of these.
so a couple of things about the Gotham Awards. I think people take it incredibly seriously because it's like the first one. But the fact remains that it's chosen by a very small jury, and the categories are not all the
Juries.
same jury.
It's juries,
Right.
plural.
They're not the same juries. So when you're looking at this and you're like, oh, what a big thing. Like, here's an example. I saw somebody crowing that Honora missed a screenplay nomination, which maybe you would think it's going to get at the Oscars and potentially win at the Academy Awards. But the same jury does feature, director, and screenplay. So it's five people. They clearly liked Honora. They gave a picture and director, and then maybe they wanted to spread the wealth a little bit, right? On screenplay. Sean
Well,
Baker's already there.
if you also notice the five best feature nominees, again, chosen by the same jury that did screenplay and director. None of those feature nominees are nominated for screenplay.
So clearly, like, there's some gamesmanship or spycraft here in what they're picking, right? Or like, trying to be fair or equitable, or just trying to put their favorites in
They're
different
juries
spots.
of five people.
So like, here's a
Not a lot.
jury. So here's a jury for feature. Just start there.
It's
It's
feature,
just
director, and screenplay.
Right. So feature, director, and screenplay. It's Justin Chang, Peter DeBruge, both members of the LA Film Critics Association, David Ehrlich and Allison Wilmore, both key members of the New York Film Critics Circle, and Jessica Kiang, who's a freelance critic and programs Belfast Film Festival and Berlin Film Festival. So, like, we already know that these critics loved Honora, Challengers, Baby Girl, A Different Man, and Nickel Boys.
This is the Nickel Boys five, Nickel Boys Nation.
Yes. So, like, when we already have been saying that Nickel Boys is going to win New York Film Critics Circle, this is what we mean because, like, two of the five people on this jury are going to also be like, Nickel Boys is great. And that's so I was like, I don't take these as seriously, I guess, as other people doing what we do, Joyce. And I know you don't either. I like it's nice to get the recognition, I think. And like last year, I got to go, and I'd love to go
That's
again if
all you
anybody's
care about. You
listening.
just want to be in the room.
And you be in the room and you kind of get like data points and like
Yeah,
understand
and
like
then you
who's
change
playing
all your
what.
predictions based on who talked to whom.
Yes. But the actual winners and who's nominated, I don't think it matters as much. So like last year,
Well, the other thing is like also if you follow like these people, if you because like they make their juries public. This is
yes,
not like secret information
no,
we're announcing here. It's part of the press release
yes,
who's on each jury. And in the nomination phase, the juries are comprised of critics and journalists, like non-industry people, like media industry, but not like filmmaking industry. And then for the winner phase, they do juries again, and it's five people, but they're industry folks, so it's like filmmakers.
yes,
It's like Barry Jenkins, so you'll
yes.
see,
And
or like John Hamm. It's
and
just like
those are also
actors,
public,
filmmakers, right? Yeah.
right?
So like they vote for the winner. So the nominating juries don't even vote for the winners.
Correct.
But if you like, look at the list of the nominating juries and you even follow these people or read some of the reviews, like their tastes. So like again, not breaking any news here, David Ehrlich, notorious Emilia Perez hater.
Correct.
He hates that movie. Now, that movie, along with some others like Maria, not eligible for Best Feature because that's only for a primarily US production. It is or it was eligible for international features in all other categories,
Hmm.
including acting. So it was blanked,
Yes.
as well as Maria,
Yes.
you know. So it's like obviously David is only part of three juries, but it wasn't nominated for screenplay or director either.
Correct.
So it's like
So here's like I'll give you an example. Guy, so like you just said, Amelia Perez got blanked. I think again would have been nice probably to be there. And I'll tell you this, I guarantee you it's going to get some special tribute at the Gotham Awards because they've only
Well,
announced
they've
two so
only
far.
announced like three so
I
far,
think
right?
two. It was Piano Lesson and Denis Villeneuve were the
No, there
two.
was the other one with like the Blacklist, remember?
Oh, right. But I mean of these movies, like of movie ones, right? So there's only been the two movies that have been highlighted. Anyway, point being, I think Amelia Perez will still be a factor at this event in December. Here's one of the international jury members was Guy Lodge, great critic for Variety, Joyce, and many other outlets. Here was his tweet in May. Amelia Perez, it's funny because on paper, a trans cartel musical directed by Jacques Audiard with Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez sounds absolutely horrific, but in practice, somehow it's even worse than that. So not surprised it didn't make it on the international feature list with Guy as one of the jury members, let's say. So and that's how you have to think about this
Yeah,
because
and
it's
it's
like,
also remember it's five people. So if like there is like a huge hater of
yes,
performance or a film, it doesn't like take that much sway for them
correct.
to, preach
Yes,
to the room, their
yes,
Zoom room or whatever, however they do this,
yes,
their email chain to and lobby against or for their fave or something they hate. So
yes.
I guess
Um,
I mean, I'm not surprised that Amelia did poorly. I think I would have expected at most like a nomination for Zoe Saldana, which is a completely different jury for
but that was
performance.
a different jury. So let's do these in case you're watching this, and this is now days later. But in case we said Honora, Baby Girl, Challengers, Different Man, and Nickel Boys are for feature choice. Director, which is the same jury. Pael Kapadia for All We Imagine Is Light, Sean Baker for Honora, Guan Hu for Black Dog, Shane Schoenbrunn for I Saw the TV Glow, and Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys. And then screenplay was Between the Temples, Nathan Silver and C. Mason Wells. Evil Does Not Exist, Femme, which is a Utopia release, His Three Daughters, and Janet Planet. Uh, Lead performance, which we haven't talked about yet. So it's a genderless category, 10 nominees. Last year, Lily Gladstone won for not Killers of Flower Moon. Unknown Country, I believe, was the movie.
But really, for Killers of Flower Moon.
Correct. This year, here are the nominees: Pamela Anderson for The Last Showgirl, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Marianne Jean Baptiste for Hard Truths, Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl, Keith Cup for her for Ghostlight, which I actually really loved, and that was nice to see. Mikey Madison for Nora, Demi Moore for The Substance, Saoirse Ronan for the Outrun, and Justice Smith for I Saw the TV Glow. So some Oscar contenders in there, some like cool nominees who I think will be really nice to see get some shine. This is actually a good category, I would argue.
Their performance categories have always been fine since they went gender neutral.
Yeah.
It's really only like last year with Ryan Gosling for Barbie.
Yeah.
Because they
None of
also there
these,
no more cap here at Gotham.
no. And none of these are like Ryan Gosling for Barbie, I
No.
guess, I would argue. And then for supporting performance, Yura Borisov, who is rapidly becoming the Charles Melton of this year. And I put him in my picks, Joyce, but I know he's not going to make it.
Again, you're copying me.
Yes. Uh, Well, because we'll talk about this later, but I was like, I just am running out of people to think about. But anyway, your Borisov, who is like the Charles Melton of 2025, 2024, Kieran Culkin for Real Pain, Daniel Deadwyler for Piano Lesson, Bridget Lundy Payne for I Saw the TV Glow, Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters, Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing, Katie O'Brien for Love Lies Bleeding, Guy Pearce, which they spelled wrong, but now spelled right in the press release for The
They fixed
Brutalist,
it.
Adam Pearson for A Different Man, and Brian Tyree Henry for The Fire Inside, which is a hilarious
Not
nomination.
sure why they alphabetized Brian Tyree Henry last. Do they think Tyree's his last name? His last name is Henry.
Yes. Yes. And then the breakthrough performer, just to go another performance one, it's Lily Colias for a good one, Ryan Destiny for The Fire Inside. Great, great shine for The Fire Inside. Same jury did this. Nominating committee for outstanding lead performance, supporting performance, and breakthrough performer. All the same jury. It was Monica Castillo, Robert Daniels, Tim Grierson, and Thomas Lafley, and Brian Tallarico. So I guess they all really like the Unstoppable. And The Fire
That
Inside, I
jury
mean.
is also stacked with people from RogerEbert.com.
Yes.
So maybe want some variety on
Hmm.
your juries too.
Interesting. Maisie Stella for My Old Ass, Isaac Wong for Dee Dee, and Brandon Wilson for Nickel Boys. So that's what we got for the Gotham Awards.
Congratulations to all the nominees.
So yeah, I saw people on tell me I don't I'm not as I was doing other things yesterday, but here's what I saw basically was people pressed about which A24 movies got highlighted and which didn't. Because I saw the TV Glow did extremely well comparatively to like The Brutalist maybe, which only got the two nominations.
But
Uh,
again, if you know, like if you see who's on the jury and then you read those people's reviews or thoughts on the Brutalist, like not really that surprising. It missed feature
I thought that
and
too.
director.
Liked but not loved from that group, it seems,
Yes.
overall. So the Brutalist didn't do as well as people thought. I saw TV go overperforming. Obviously, Amelia Price shut out. Um, Nickel Boys did extremely well, but like I said, like we've said this from the beginning, I think it's gonna do really well here in December, like in this kind of corridor. I still don't know if it's actually gonna make it in. I don't think it will in Best Picture now, but maybe it will.
It can pull the number ones. It's just like that it's like is that pocket of support going to be enough? Like we know the 10 is not locked in at all, so there is room for it. So they just need the number ones, but there's going to be people who do not like that movie.
So we've talked about this, and I guess for me, I was like I put nickel everything about that is right. And we were like, oh, I had it in for so long because I was like, I think it will pull the number ones, but I'm wondering how it will the number ones it gets be enough, and how will international voters take in a very American story, which in historically this they have not always taken to. And I think that's the other problem. Like Saturday Night has the same problem where it's like, is this does this travel beyond this country? Maybe good story can go everywhere, but maybe not based on what their interests have been historically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know these are just, nice to have something to look at, but really meaningless in terms of the larger Oscar race overall. Like you really can't extrapolate that much from it. It's five people
Yeah.
picking things for each category.
And we'll see a lot of these same people picking at New York Film Critics Circle and LA Film Critics Association in a few weeks. Um, I like I said though, I think what wins doesn't matter, but what happens in the room does matter. So I will be curious to see what ends up winning some of these slash what is given a tribute.
Well, last year the two acting winners were, like I said, Lily Gladstone and Charles Melton.
And Lily really wowed the room. People really loved her. And
And Charles
Charles,
was not even nominated. So
no. So we'll see.
I
And
think a lot
last
of
year, I think
people think, because this is where, since they went gender neutral,
mhm.
um, outside of Charles, a supporting performer has gone to Troy Kotzer and Ki Kwan. So I think this is like people think this is where Clarence Macklin will make his play for the same type of storyline and arc for the season.
So Clarence is definitely in that vein. We both have him in for supporting actor. I could see Kieran still winning for this though, depending on who's on the jury, right? I mean, but
I mean, yeah, you don't know who's on the jury until the day of when they announce the
I
winners.
also wouldn't be
On the
surprised to
jury.
see Sing Sing receive a tribute during the ceremony.
They also need to step up their tribute names
We
because right
talked about
now
that
it's just
last year.
director tribute and
Yeah.
ensemble tribute. And as we know, last year they went full hog on the names. Cultural icon
Icon.
and creator for
Yeah, that
Maestro,
one was
global
that was good.
icon and creator for Barbie,
Yes.
historical icon and creator for Killers, icon and creator tribute for innovation for Ferrari, icon and creator tribute for social justice for
Ferrari.
Rustin,
I
and
forgot.
visionary icon and creator tribute for Air.
Oh, that was my favorite one. The air one was fantastic. Having to sit through that at the ceremony, and they didn't even get. I don't think Ben or Matt were there. I think it was the Alex what was his name? Who was the screenwriter? Alex Conway,
Convery.
Convery, right? Love that guy. And they did one for Barbie. I remember Greta and
Yeah, global icon.
global icon. Well, who could be a bigger global icon than Barbie?
I mean, maybe Gotham nominee Ryan Gosling.
The only big movie last year that did not do a tribute, I think, was Oppenheimer.
Well, why would they need that?
So I guess we'll see who doesn't do the tribute here this year. Maybe that's the front runner. I don't know. Will Conclave be up in there doing a tribute?
I don't think it's not the year is not the same.
I know.
And then like last year was also like that was when, they relaxed their rules. And then I think people really took advantage of that last year.
Hmm.
So I think it's like, oh, we saw what happened last year.
Yeah.
And because I also feel like we got a lot more of those tributes announced before we even got the nominations last
I
year.
think it feels like yes, but I don't know if that's true. I thought that too, and I feel like oh, this event is now it's I think it's December 2nd, right? Is the dinner at
Yeah.
Cipriani?
Well, also what they have done since is they split off TV from
Yes.
film, so they already had they launched their separate
Hmm.
TV ceremony in June already. So because like last year, it was still in the same ceremony, so they had TV categories there too.
If I'm lucky enough to go get invited, Joyce, and go again, I will say I'm excited for that because that felt interminable. There were so many awards that were giving out. I think Beef was winning like that many awards last year, if I remember
I mean,
correctly.
they only had three TV categories. Like they have more tributes than TV categories.
But with all the tributes and all the TV, come on, that's a
I'm
long shot.
saying the tributes are unnecessary. So they
Okay.
could have still kept it all in one ceremony. It's the tributes that are unnecessary. You don't need those.
Hmm. I
Because
mean,
if you're an award show, then make it about the competitive awards.
they might need it for the P&L, Joyce.
I mean, I know exactly why they're doing it. I'm just saying, if you're complaining about the length is because of the tributes.
Okay. Uh, so I didn't make any changes because of the Gotham Awards, my picks, and the Oscars, obviously. I did make a couple of changes. I want to make you laugh at me before we go to A Real Pain, which is out this week. And then later, Juror number two and Here, one of which I've seen, which I was super excited about. Uh, did I tell you I had Wicked in there? Did we do that last week?
You did this last week.
Okay. How about Edward Berger back in for Conclave?
Why after the opening weekend?
Opening weekend was great. Uh, people really like this movie, Joyce, Conclave.
I mean, that's not news to me. So
So I put Edward Berger back in, and I dropped Jacques Audiard instead of Pedro Almodovar. That was my big play. I kept Pedro Almodovar for Room Next Door.
because of Tom Bernard.
Uh, only a little.
You didn't talk to a studio head this past
I
week.
didn't talk to any studio heads this past week. I did talk to Tom Bernard a couple weeks ago. I just my gut is like I've said this like we were talking about like predicting the snubs. I don't know. My gut is like is Jacques Audiard like as ensconced in this race as like it seems like he is based on like the odds and the perception. And I think he's like vulnerable. I kind of do. I still have Ridley number one, so maybe I'm crazy, and maybe Ridley's not getting it at all. But I don't know. It was just like I just feels like a little bit like the movie is the vibes of the movie are more while he's the renegade auteur. Is that what it was, Joyce? I keep getting it wrong.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what he's rebelling against.
So while he's the renegade auteur, and I think it's a good movie. I really liked it. Guy Lodge notwithstanding. Um, I just is like I don't know if he like I feel like he is vulnerable to not get nominated for this movie, and I think it's possible that like an Almodovar and a Ridley, because if you think like Brady Corbet and Sean Baker are pretty set, a lot of people maybe think neither one of them are set. Who knows? And Edward Berger has this like broad appealing movie that's really solid. I don't know. So I took out Jock Yard, and then for supporting actor, yeah, I put Yuri Borisov in because I had Peter Sarsgaard in there. I don't think any of the Conclave boys are getting in. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with that category. I think it's like four actors for five spots. And then the fifth spot is going to be like Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway style. And I'm like, who is this year's Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway?
Brian Tyree Henry for The Fire and Inside.
Maybe it is, right? Or it could very well be. Or like, and like Yuri Borisov makes sense because of this. I really want to try to find room for like, really want to try to find room for Ariana Grande or Cynthia Erivo, but since we haven't seen it yet, I haven't put them in. Um, so there you go. Those are my big changes.
Sure. So you basically just have what I have in supporting actor.
I do, but I don't love that either. I don't think that's right, but I don't know what else to do there.
You just worry too much. Like I'm just keeping this
Okay.
until I have new information. Like who cares? It doesn't
Okay.
matter. You don't need to constantly change things all the time.
I like to update and then maybe change things
Why?
because I think
You
it's
don't need
fun.
to do anything. You don't need
Uh,
to do stuff. I
just
mean, like Jacques, I think he can still get it. Like I understand like the concerns about him, but he's still, he's been around and like he's still an international director.
mhm.
And then he has a lot of big guns pulling for him. Guillermo del Toro, Greta Gerwig
All true, and they
on
like,
on the ground for him.
but are they on the ground for him or the movie? Like Greta Gerwig, I think is in for
I
the
think they
movie.
love the movie, but it's like the movie is him, like it's even that's like their whole campaign, like with the cast. Like you love the cast, but the cast is always giving
It
him
is.
props. Like this is all like Jacques' vision. He's the
Yes.
renegade auteur.
I all obviously. Uh, all of this stuff is true, and I want to like. I just was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what. I think it's very possible that he
I
misses,
mean,
even with
listen,
all
you
that
can
being
just
true.
drop Ridley.
I'm not going to drop Ridley. I think Ridley's getting in. The movie's great.
The
People were
movie's great, but he
surprised.
doesn't have to get in.
He doesn't have to get in, and then maybe it's like the basic five. But doesn't that feel wrong? Do you think it's really going to be the top five in the odds
I
now?
don't know what the basic five is.
I
Like,
mean,
I
right
don't think
now
there
it's
is a
that.
basic five.
The basic five, according to our odds, is Sean Baker, Brady Corbet, Jacques Audiard, Edward Berger, Denny Villeneuve. That's the top five.
Like, that is the top five. I wouldn't say that is like the basic five. I think like that's the five that have the most predictions.
Right. So then
But
what do you think the basic five is?
I don't think there is a basic five because I think the only people who are safe are Brady and Sean, and then it could be like whatever.
What do you expect DGA to look like?
DJ would be that would be basic five.
James Mangold,
Like that, like Ridley could get in.
Ridley, James Mangold, Denny Villeneuve, Edward Berger, and like Sean Baker or Brady.
No, Brady would get in. Like Brady
Okay.
could win DJ. Like I think Brady could sweep everything, or he could. I don't even know what he would lose because he would like he feels like a Globe and BAFTA winner, and I feel like if he wins the Globe, Critics' Choice would just go for him too.
hmm
So,
So if Brady,
and then I think he would win DGA.
so Brady at DGA, Edward Berger feels DGA safe to me. Denny certainly could be. Ridley, I don't know. I think Mangold would get in here too for complete unknown. He just feels so DGA friendly.
You're so like into all the complete unknown featurettes.
But I love those featurettes. Can't wait to see the movie. I don't know what to think of that movie either. But one thing I'll say is based on I know people have seen Wicked and it's been screening more widely this week or like overall, and not a single person is that I've seen talk about it or has said it's not. Everyone is like very excited about the movie. It seems like it is going over well so far with who they've showed it to. And so I'm like, not that John Chu is going to get a Best Director nomination, but maybe he does. Maybe he's like a DGA player, right? I don't know. It just feels like a lot of these late releases. I don't know a single person literally who has seen a complete unknown. I don't know about you. I'm sure they've showed it to some
No, because
people,
like they literally just walked it.
but I'm like, based on we saw Gladiator 2, I would say that's a success. And Wicked being good. Like I'm like these late movies, it's not like last year where it was like, oh, The Color Purple. I don't know. I'm like none of these movies have flopped, so I think that makes this or so far, so it makes this race even more interesting, especially because there's no like clear like front runners in picture and director.
I mean, I think that's just based on online reaction. I mean, like Wicked is still under embargo currently as we're recording this.
Yeah,
And there's no like Gladiator official reviews yet. Those are just,
no.
social
It's just
reactions.
social reactions, Joyce.
So like they could still be mixed.
In the real world. Right. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. So who
Like you're
knows?
just going by your bubble hype right now.
Yeah, that's true. But the bubble hype is like also like maybe not the type. I think a lot of people were expecting Wicked not to be great.
No, if that's the case, because I think a lot of people love Wicked, like, very
Interesting.
popular IP. And
Certainly IP films,
people have a
familiar.
lot of attachment to it. And I think people want it to be good. And as long as it met those expectations, um, then it's a good movie.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like I never thought it was gonna be a bad movie.
You never thought
So
it was like going to be color purplish.
I don't think Color Purple is a bad movie. I think there are issues with it, but it's like it's not hot trash. Like I think the Spielberg version is better than the musical version.
I think
Like there were things that they did and did not do in the musical version, and there's a lot of holes in there. I'm just like, why did you do that?
we don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to relitigate color purple. But yeah, you're right. It was fine. Uh, Joyce. So, a Real Pain is out this week. Another Dark Horse Best Picture contender, maybe.
I put that in last week, right? I don't know when I put that in.
Do you have Jesse in too?
No,
Do you think he could get in? Let's start there.
we've talked about this. Yeah, he can. Why not?
It seems shocking to me that he's still not being more widely predicted. I think it's very likely he could get in, especially in this category, which is not the deepest.
I think people have completely forgotten about him or just have excluded him from the conversation because Kieran had monopolized all of the praise out of
Hmm.
Sundance, and it felt like, oh, we can just honor Jesse with like screenwriting awards or something, or like a directing mention or something, because like it's like his movie. Like there's other ways to talk about Jesse, and like Kieran has the more magnetic performance. So I think that just kind of became the narrative for the movie, and it's carried on into the fall, but now I think Jesse is kind of bubbling up there more in the conversation because it's hard to fill out Best Actor.
What if I put him in instead of Paul right now?
Do it.
I'm doing it. Here's it. I said it when I saw it at Sundance, Joyce. I watched it online. Uh, and I was like, oh, Kieran is great and like gonna get all the like the RTs because like it's like Kieran doing Roman. It's not this. It's in the same at least area code as Roman. Well, not exactly the same. And then I was like, Jesse is fantastic in it though because I thought he had like the more difficult part, frankly, and like it's got to like really. If he's not good, I don't think Kieran is as good. Did you like that was my takeaway of the movie? Whereas like Kieran is great, but I think if Jesse isn't like the character isn't as well written and like his performance isn't as good of a balance, like I don't think the movie works because there really is like a two-hander between them. So yeah, I loved him and I thought he was my favorite performance in the movie. Not that there's a lot of performances in the movie, but yeah, I love Jesse in it. So I'm gonna put him in choice. I'll take Paul Mescal out.
Do it.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, what I love about the movie is obviously that they play cousins and they go to Poland on a Holocaust tour because their grandmother just died. So they want to learn more about their history and everything. But I love that just as a basic road trip movie, the two of them they play such like archetypes of travelers and such different archetypes, right? It's like from the opening scene of Jesse frantically going into the cab to get to the airport and calling Kieran, making sure he was there because he's concerned, and Kieran not picking up, and then Kieran is actually already there at the airport. It's like the harried traveler who's worried about everything. There's always someone like that if you've traveled with people before. And then there's like the traveler who just, everything rolls off his back. He's not worried about the thing. It's like, let's just go with the flow. We don't need to plan everything. We don't need an itinerary, right? So I just love that just as like a travel movie.
Which let's start there. Which traveler are you?
I think I'm like a tweener because I'm definitely not as like type A like Jesse.
Hmm.
But I don't get to an airport like 3 hours early just to people watch either.
I don't do that either. I would definitely be more like Jesse though.
I think I'm more, yeah, I would say I have like the organization of a Jesse, but I'm also open to just doing whatever, like on the day, like Kieran. Like I
Hmm.
would do funny poses in front of statues, like Kieran.
I'm all business. Got to get there. Sit there solemnly at the
Yeah, like
gate.
I would never be late boarding a flight,
No,
which is
that's
what
unacceptable.
like
You
yeah,
can't
which
do
is what
that.
I think Jesse is worried about with Kieran. But they weren't late. Like
No,
yeah, he was already there.
but were they on time?
They were on time.
Mhm.
I mean, like Jesse made it there. They made it through security.
True. Uh, yeah, I think their dynamic is great. I've seen people like I didn't make me emotional, but I think it is hitting an emotional chord for a lot of people.
Well, I think that's what the movie is about. I mean, the title is about a real pain. It's about them kind of um dulling their pain because like there's this whole not subplot, but there's like dialogue about how now Jesse's character David uh medicates, right? Like he
Hmm.
has OCD and stuff, so he takes and like that bothers Benji and Kieran's character because he's not as emotional anymore because like you used to cry, dude, and Benji wears his emotions on his sleeve. So they talk about emotion a lot, but I think it's about kind of like the absence of that emotion in David and also them obviously touring on a Holocaust tour, like they're trying to rediscover that trauma, that familiar trauma that their family went through and everything. And it's I love how like a little anticlimactic the film is a bit because like they visit like me. I mean, I don't really think it's like a spoiler, but it's like they want to go to their grandmother's old house in Poland. And I
I think
think
this
like,
is in the trailer too. It was
yeah,
alluded
like the
to.
trailer kind of spells out their whole trip.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler movie. I think if you
No.
were like, it's a these cousins going on a trip, like to like pay
Yeah. And
tribute
then
to their
like once they
grandmother.
get to her house, it's just like, oh, it's just a house. Like
Hmm.
I think a lot of times like we as humans, like we build up certain events and like we can't wait to experience something and we think we're gonna have this emotional release. And then when that moment happens, it's just like another moment. It's like nothing, like you expect more of it
And that's
than
also a
what
very funny part in the film, if I remember, because there's a lot of it's a miscommunication, I feel like,
yeah.
which is always good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really solid movie. I think people will also really like it. I'm not sure. Obviously, it's not gonna be like a Conclave type hit choice, which did really well.
I mean, I told you over the weekend I went to vote
Hmm.
early, and this
Yes.
woman behind me, older, probably like 60s, 70s, she announced to everyone that she saw Conclave the night before on Friday, and it was a great film, and they were voting for a new pope, and now we're voting.
I'm not just a tease for our mailbag episode tomorrow. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. A lot of emails about Conclave on the ground at theaters.
People were dressing up, man.
So I don't think it's gonna be like Conclave, but I do think it's gonna do really well. And I think like seems like it's like a classic. It just felt like such a classic indie movie to me. And I think, tell me if you agree. Like I like this movie a lot. I think it's like very solid. Nothing wrong with it at all. It felt like a very traditional like Sundancey indie. I think if it was another studio that's not Searchlight, I think I would only really consider it for Kieran. But because it's Searchlight and we know their strength at getting these movies seen, um, yeah, I think it's screenplay obviously is in play. You have it in for Best Picture. I just put it in for Jesse, longtime supporter of Jesse Eisenberg for Best Actor. But I think it could get like the real like three, four nominations are not out of scope.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a Nora and Sing Sing in a way, where it's very above the line heavy in terms of its nomination potential and not really below the line heavy. Like
Yeah.
the it could get into editing, basically. I also love the cinematography because I feel like they shot Poland in a way that you don't see in film or TV a lot. So
No, I really like I like this film. I also think it's like Jesse's best movie as a writer. You know what I mean? Like I think it's like really well written. I think like I think on like to me, Kieran and screenplay are like the bare minimum that I would get. And then I
yeah.
think Picture and Jesse are also in play. So I just put Jesse in. I could see putting it for Picture, but I just don't know if it'll have enough. Like it's like, do you think it'll have like for it to get in for Picture? I think it has to do like not just number ones, and I think it's got to be like a 4, 3, 4, 5 movie for a lot of people, and I just don't know if it will be.
I think it's a very likable movie. Like I can't
Yeah,
imagine it being low
I
on a lot of ballots.
right. I guess I couldn't imagine it being low, but I also could just not imagine it not being there. You know what I mean? Like if like I liked it a lot, but if you asked me to name like my 10 favorite movies of the year, I don't know if I'd put it in there. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think you have to think of it in terms of the bigger picture of like even if it's not someone's favorite film, like what else would they like? Like we have no idea. So it's
Right.
like
And if
how else would they fill out that 10?
yeah, that's true.
And it's also one of their
Yeah.
shorter movies this year.
It's only 90 minutes, which is fantastic. I assume it'll be on Hulu eventually, right? Like all Searchlight movies.
When did they do Poor Things?
Not until the Oscars.
Yeah, but that was also stronger.
And it was more of a box office play, I think, for them too. Like I could see like a complete unknown. I don't think it'll be on Hulu until March. But like I wonder if Real Pain comes on in like January.
I think it's also good. Like it's a Searchlight and they're campaigning. Like they're I mean it's also promo because the movie's
Yeah.
coming out. So but it's combo promo campaigning. Like and Kieran is getting awards left and right. Like he was just in Savannah this week
Kieran
getting an
is
award.
like
So
it's obviously it's the headliner for the movie is Kieran, and like definitely I think he still win. I think I have Denzel in first because I just love the movie star performance. But I think if Kieran won, it would be awesome. I also would not be surprised. But I think it's between the two of them for supporting actor right now.
I mean he's like a co-lead.
Yeah, he's got a huge role, and
So
like obviously like the industry loves him for with good reason. And I think getting to honor him with this movie after Succession is like really cool and like would be awesome if he won. And we know that if he ever gets if he wins one of those early televised awards, like his speech is going to be great. And I think that momentum will just kind of could carry him all the
I
way
cannot
through.
wait to gif all of his speeches if he
You
wins.
know what I mean? Like if like he wins, let's say he wins at the Globes over Denzel, gives a
Suck it,
fantastic
Pedro.
speech, like that's it. Good night. I think he'll just go all the way because like his speeches are great. We already know that. Like he's great up there. People love him. There's so much enthusiasm for him within the industry. Yeah, it's really he could go very far, I think, obviously.
Um, yeah, but I can't really I mean if it's like really really big then I guess editing, but I don't have that in there and yeah, I think it's just above the line stuff for it right now,
I so
which would be a
I
great package.
so you would say picture over Jesse. I might say Jesse over picture, but obviously it could get all four of these. I think screenplay and Kieran are like pretty
I
safe.
have Jesse in at the Globes obviously
Right.
for comedy musical. Um yeah, I don't know if he would win that. I guess he could win, but I don't know. I mean that's pretty open there. But even if he wins that, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
So
Especially this year with that category the way it is.
yeah. I feel like just because there's more spots in Best Picture. And then actor, it's like him, you just drop Paul. There's Seb for both of his movies. And Daniel Craig is still hanging around, like the queer trailer this week. So
What do you think of that, Joyce?
I thought it was a good trailer. And it highlights a lot of the first act, which I
Hmm.
feel like is the best act.
I would agree, and I think if you follow me on Letterboxd, you would know that based on my take on the movie. Uh, Joyce, we had his email last week, and now it feels like a good time just to revisit it before we go on to talk about here and juror number two. Uh, Searchlight, I think the perception, at least a few weeks ago, is like it's a down year for Searchlight, and I'm putting that in air quotes, but I'm like, I don't really believe that at all. I was like, Real Pain is very good. I mean, Complete Unknown could be great. I don't know. I don't know. Like, where are you on the Searchlight
Yeah,
overall?
I don't think it's down. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like they have like these two movies haven't been released yet, so I guess maybe that's the public perception. I mean, no
And
one has
Night
seen A
Bitch.
Complete
No.
Unknown.
And Night Bitch is the third, I guess, here.
Yeah, Night Bitch, but that's more of an Amy thing,
Yeah,
really.
I don't think it's a weak slate because I was like, I think a Real Pain is really solid. And like I said, I think they'll do a good job with it. And a Complete Unknown, I mean, there's at least one I know one person who is incredibly high on it. David Poland, Joyce. He thinks it's like gonna win Best Picture if you read his newsletter.
Um, yeah, I mean like they don't have a Poor Things this year, but you don't need a
No.
Poor Things every year.
And it's I mean, I guess like this, like think gaming it out like this. Like you said, we have not seen a Complete Unknown, so I have literally no idea. But a period biopic, uh it has a lot of room for like, we were saying like Real Pain is like a Nora and Sing Sing where it's just above the line. Like right now, we don't have a complete, I don't think either one of us have a Complete Unknown really anywhere except for Timothy, right? I don't have it in for picture or anywhere else. But if the movie is great or the response to it is really great, I mean, that could be like a craft, like you could picture sound, costumes, right? Makeup and hair, maybe cinematography. Like it could quickly rack up below the line nominations in addition to Timothy and maybe Best Picture as well. So I'm like that could be like kind of like a lower tier Poor Things esque type movie for them in the end.
Yeah.
Right? I
I
mean, we don't
think
know.
maybe I'm just thinking of like what else did Searchlight have this year? And I guess it was just Kinds of Kindness. Like that was like their biggest thing from the first half of the year. And that's not gonna go anywhere, unfortunately.
No, not
So
this.
I guess maybe it's like that. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, like they're like this week is the start of their like real Oscar rollout with
Yeah.
a Real Pain.
Yeah. And then Night Bitch, like you said, for Amy, and there's still I mean, I think people are still
Amy, she's hitting the ground too. Like she was also at Savannah. She
yeah.
got one of their tributes too. So I think Amy is better than that film.
We'll talk about that film later. But I think we both agree that like few actors in recent memory have tried harder than Amy Adams in Night Bitch.
Yes.
So it's like like Amy Adams innocent type thing. She did all she could.
Yeah.
Joyce, speaking of movies that had not great festival receptions, Here and Juror Number Two, both of which are out. At least in the case of Here, if you're watching this on Thursday, I think you could probably see it in your local multiplex.
Uh, they both premiered at AFI Fest
Yes,
over the weekend,
yes.
and now they're open to the public. Not really that much
Mhm.
with Juror Number Two.
Yeah. So let's start with Here. I've seen Juror Number Two. We can end with that, but neither one of us have seen Here. I'm gonna try to see it though, in the real world.
This one, people did not like.
Uh, no. Uh, the like 1 star letterbox reviews I saw. A lot of like
Yeah,
just
like Juror Number Two has fans.
not a great. Not the vibes are not great. I'll
No,
put.
no one was here for here.
I didn't like. We haven't seen it, so I don't know. And I'm very mixed on Robert Zemeckis' output. I would argue, since in recent memory, let's just say. But I was hopeful that it would maybe be pretty good because it's a Forrest Gump reunion, and obviously, like, I think that movie is valuable, even if people don't like it as much as they did in the 90s. Um, and I love Tom Hanks and all this stuff. But one of the things I saw of the movie was when Tom Hanks took the stage, I think the first thing was him defending the use of AI in the movie. And I was just like, this is not what you want, I don't think. I don't know. But I think it's also probably like a very earnest, boomer take
Yeah,
on like Americana and emotions that I'm like, I don't think I could see like a lot of the people who were in it. I think in the right audience, maybe it plays better. Like if that was at Telluride, it's never going to be a type of movie that goes to Telluride, but like the older,
it's not a festival movie at all.
it's not a festival movie at all, but in just terms of the audience, like I can imagine like an audience of like 55 and ups enjoying this movie more than like 30 and ups.
Yeah, it's a total like general audience, like mainstream play, and just I mean, I think you could just tell from the trailer that it was gonna be more on the sentimental side. So I was basically prepared for critics and people to not like just not being into like the how cloying it is basically, which is what I like my perception of their view of the film. Like they just think it's like really heavy-handed and
Yeah.
yeah.
And in terms of Zemeckis, like I think like you could clearly see in the last 12 years, certainly if you looked at his filmography, like he has gone more into a little bit like it reminds me of like how James Cameron kind of does too, where it's like you've made some of the greatest movies of all time. You're a film director. I guess like a lot of these older like these veteran directors, not that Robert Zemeckis is old. I don't even know how old. He's not like Clint Eastwood aged, right? He's
He's in his
72.
70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
72. So he's not that old. But I'm like, when you've had so much success, I think a lot of it is like, how can I push the envelope? How can I like try something different, right? And like Zemeckis has always been at like the forefront of tech, and this is another movie where I think it's de-aging Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. It's the fixed camera. It's the challenge of that. It is very much like a tech movie. I guess people maybe were thought maybe you could get in for special effects, but I don't. It never felt like even if it was well received, I don't think it's the type of movie that would get in. But I guess it could.
I mean, I'm assuming there's no monkeys in it, so that's already a demerit for it.
There are no monkeys, but there are dinosaurs, Joyce.
But they like monkeys more.
Hmm. Zemeckis' recent movies here is this year Pinocchio, which I never saw, The Witches, which I also never saw. These are two streaming movies. Welcome to Marwen, which I also never saw. Allied, which I did not love, and The Walk, which I saw and I thought was pretty cool. I actually thought that was actually pretty cool. Flight, I think, is the last movie people would go to bat for him. There's a Flight Hive, Joyce, that I see online.
I mean, Oscar nominee Denzel Washington.
Great needle drops in that movie. Very memorable to me. Christmas Carol, not a fan. Beowulf, not a fan. Polar Express, I actually think is pretty good. That started like the Uncanny Valley kind of conversation. I don't think I ever heard that until Polar Express. But I actually like I watched it
Yeah,
with
that was
my
20 years
daughter.
ago.
Yeah, I
So
watched it with my daughter like recently, like maybe last Christmas, and I thought it was actually pretty good. Castaway, What Lies Beneath, or maybe the last time he was like really considered as like a top favorite director. I think if you went back to 2000 and you asked people what they thought of Robert Zemeckis, I think the would be incredibly high rating, right? In terms of like favorite filmmakers.
yeah. Um,
Not as much recently.
I mean, like he will always have the 80s.
You- you-
He will always have Forrest Gump.
Yeah, and I want to like I'm not going to see this movie and be like I can't wait to laugh at this. Like I actually want to like this movie, so I hope it's good. I guess my biggest fear is that I will find the story unengaging and the fixed camera will be a bridge too far. Similarly, like Nickel Boys, like it's such a you know what I mean. Like it's like very much that kind of like unorthodox filmmaking gambit that I wonder how it will play.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like which one will be more off-putting to viewers, like the fixed camera or the first person POV. And I think it would be the first person POV. Like I think the fixed camera might be annoying, but you're still getting a full view of everybody.
Right. The fixed camera will make it feel like you're watching a play, I think.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the POV is like off-putting.
Yeah. And then you don't get to engage with the characters enough because of the first person POV.
Correct.
So, and also this is way shorter than Nickel Boys.
I think it's only an hour and 40 minutes.
So I think Nickel Boys is like 220. Yeah.
Do you
But
think
I
by
mean,
Alan Silvestri gonna get him in Joyce shortlist on the score, maybe?
no,
Okay. So you're just we neither one of us were in on this at all. And nothing here disabuse that notion, I would say.
no. I think it's more I guess disappointing in a way because I think a lot of people were ready for this to, so-called flop and it like basically did.
Yeah.
So, I would prefer it if it had not done that and it exceeded people's expectations and proved them wrong.
I'm not the I hate when people in our industry, Joyce, go online and complain about things they didn't get invited to. I know you have a pet peeve about that too, right?
Mhm.
That's just so bush league. That said, and I'm not saying this to say that I wanted to be invited or whatever. I just want to use this as a data point. I get emails from Sony often. I got invited to Venom 3, which I didn't even get to see. I have not gotten a single invite or even correspondence about here.
Me either. So,
And I just think that's notable.
yeah.
Speaking of not getting correspondence, Clint Eastwood's Juror number two, Joyce.
Uh, Same playbook.
His final film, possibly, 94 years old, does not have anything else in development right now. Uh, we saw the trailer a few weeks ago, both of us through the roof. Fucking love it, right? Can't wait. John Grisham movie, our favorite 1994 crime legal thriller, released in 2024. Then it came out recently that the Warner Brothers basically not releasing this movie. 50 theaters, maybe nationwide.
Just burying it. Isn't it down to like 30 now, or is it still 50?
So just to pull the curtain back, Joyce, I was like, okay, we talked about maybe seeing it together. I was like, oh, but I couldn't go on Friday, and like we'll see. And then I was looking where it's playing. It's nowhere near me. It's in one theater in like the Garden State Mall. I think Garden State Plaza Mall, I guess, in Paramus, which is not that close. And then all in New York City, in like Lincoln Square and a few other theaters. It's like 4 or 5 theaters in New York. It's like not even playing anywhere. So imagine if you're like in the real, you're watching this in like Kansas. You're not seeing this movie. You can see it on HBO Max maybe in a month. But I heard through whisper that there was a screening this week that they had for critics. So I emailed Warner Brothers and I got a polite response and they said, "Come on down." And so I went and saw this movie, Joyce, and I fucking loved it. And I cannot believe that it's not coming out. It's like almost defies. They're treating it like it's bad,
Yes.
and it's really quite good. I don't. We had talked to. I think we had talked to a publicist, and they were like, "It's more of an audience play." And I would probably agree with that, but I also think it's just like a really, really good movie. And I also think what it's bringing into the world about the American, this is so stupid. But what it's bringing about into the world about the American experience and like America as a whole and its citizens, I found like almost profound. I was like, it's actually like would be really cool to have this movie get like a big release the week before a very contentious presidential election. I don't know. I was like, it's not a political movie, but I think it had such a fondness for the complications of like regular people. I just found it like really
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, that's also what Clint does.
Yes.
Like he loves to traffic in that and like moral ambiguity, which I think you could all tell from the trailer anyway. Yeah, I thought like the reactions out of because this screened late. It closed AFI on Sunday and it was late. I mean, late for us because we're on the East Coast. So I didn't see like all like the Twitter reactions until Monday morning. And they were so mixed. Like I saw a lot more like negative tweets about it, but then when the actual reviews came out, like way more positive. And I'm like,
I I think
the
if you're watching this movie and I saw like a couple there was like one or two prominent tweets that were fed into my algorithm that were like it's so boring, it's all fake and blah blah blah. I was like, I mean, I guess you could think that, but I think you're like really if you're thinking that, I almost think you went in already thinking that, not to like bad faith
yeah,
read
or like
people.
you because like it's being buried and like and like they're hiding it so much like you think like this is bad so you're like predispositioned to think that.
Yes. I because I was like I just watched the movie and I was like it is very much like a mainstream like it felt like very much like those kind of courtroom dramas that you'd have seen in the 90s for sure. Like it's definitely like that. There's a whole section in the middle of the movie which is like 12 Angry Men where like Nicholas Holt's on the jury trying
Like
to
one of my
convince
faves.
and the jury is made up of like all these really great character actors like there's like J.K. Simmons, right? And like Leslie Bibb is like the jury forewoman, like a lot of that guys and gals who stuff I've seen them in but have don't even know their names. Nicholas Hoult I think is really good. I also I don't want to talk about one of the things I really liked about the movie because it's like a huge spoiler because it's basically the end of the movie, but I was also like the way he lands the movie and the way I think it should be taken, I found like really kind of really interesting. I just found it like really interesting. And I was like, I don't know, it would ever. So like we think about it from awards, like I know people were like, oh, Tony Collette before it got buried and before whatever. And watching, I was like, I don't think anybody here would really get in for awards. But if this was like 20 years ago, I do think this would have been a much bigger considered
I
movie
mean,
for
20
like
years ago this would have been the Million Dollar Baby.
I think it could have gotten in for picture and director in 20 years ago. But even then, I don't like none of the like Nicholas Holt's actually like really good, but I don't think he would have gotten in for like best actor. It's not like $1 Million Baby in terms of like its emotional impact, you know what I mean? Or like it's like nobody's stretching
No,
the
I mean like I always just expected like a really good watchable legal thriller and it sounds like that's
yeah.
what it is and like what's wrong with that?
No,
Like you
nothing.
don't again, movies don't need to win awards.
No, it doesn't need to win awards, but I was like, this is definitely. I think the IndieWire review is like one of the best studio movies of the whole year. I think was what it said, and I was like, I actually kind of agree with that. I think it's like really quite watchable and very entertaining, and like kind of like the perfect old school version of like adult movies that people liked, where it's like, oh, you're gonna go have a good time at the movie, a couple of funny parts, a couple of thrilling, or like you're on the edge of your seat because you're not sure what's gonna happen, and then it kind of leaves you like thinking about things. Maybe like you could use a mainstream movie to have people think about, you know, life. It doesn't have to just be like a entertaining thing. I don't know. I was just like weighing on this movie. I was like, it met. We were both excited for it. I'm excited for you to see it, probably when it's on Max at this point, because I can't
I have no
imagine
idea
you're
when I'm gonna see it because I don't think
yeah
I can go this
you're
weekend.
not going to go this week and might even be out of the theaters by next weekend. But I'm
It'll
like,
probably
this,
be on Max by next week, so I
yeah,
can
I'm
just
sure it
like
will be. And like, you'll watch it and be like, that was a lot of fun. I'm sure you'll like enjoy it. And like, it's just a good movie. So I'm not like, it's not going to, even liking it. I was like, I would never predict it for anything. Obviously, it's buried. But it was very good. So I don't know.
imagine if it did somehow pop with voters.
So what's the play? What is the play for this to pop?
I mean, I don't know, you tell me. Like I would imagine like I don't think director, but like screenplay
I think
or any
screenplay
of like
could be good.
acting.
I don't. So like the acting, I think you would say like Toni Collette is good, but I didn't think she like was a. To me, it wasn't like, oh my God, I gotta nominate Toni Collette. Um, I thought J.K. Simmons was great. I actually could in another time. I think he could have been like, he could be. I guess maybe he would be like the Kathy Bates of Richard Jewell for the movie. I just thought he was like really good. But I love J.K. Simmons, so I guess your mileage may vary if you're like kind of tired of the J.K. Simmons thing that he just does in every movie. But he's great. Nicholas Holt's really solid. Zoe Deutsch has like two scenes, three scenes, but not as much to do. I guess the play to me would be like a DGA nomination for Clint, I think could be like that would make sense. Because it's like to me, it's like thinking about all these old directors recent times who have made their last movies. Like this year with Francis Ford Coppola, he's still going to make more movies, he says, but that's maybe the last one, and it was a colossal flop. And we said like how a lot of the directors are like praising him, but not the movie. And like I could see the similar thing happening, but the movie here is so much better than I think Megalopolis, I guess.
I think the issue is like the visibility of juror number two is also so low, unlike Megalopolis. Like I don't think anyone in my real life knows this movie even exists. Like,
No,
a lot of my friends don't know a lot of movies
no, this one is
that
not. This
are
doesn't
out.
exist.
Like one of my friends last week had never heard of Honora. So
They're definitely not
we
going to hear
definitely
juror
have
number
not
two.
heard of juror number two.
You're gonna watch this. You're gonna watch this on a plane in 6 months and be like, man, that was great. And you know what a way to go out for Clint. But yeah, so that's about it, Joyce. So we'll be back uh tomorrow with our mailbag episode, and then next week I guess we could talk about the piano lesson, maybe finally, and some other stuff. I'm sure there's gonna be more data points.
Piano Lesson on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Another August Wilson
Can't
banger.
wait. All right, talk to you then. Bye.